Hello everybody, I want to tell you about part 2 of how to focus on learning a language. My name is Franklin and this is First1000hours.com.
Don't give up on your language learning marathon. You can make it. You can make it through your first 1,000 hours.
Hello everybody again, and I am really excited today to talk about how to focus on learning a language. And I'm just going to get my presentation up here, put that on the screen for you, and we're going to go right into this presentation. First of all, I want to let you know that I'm really happy about something that Language Learning Lover said on the previous video, and I just want to go ahead and read that comment. And again, I saw Language Learning Lover in the live chat, and I just want to say hello as well. This is what she said about the first presentation. She said, "This has helped me so much. After dinner last night, I decided to get in a good solid hour of focused, intentional practice. I grabbed a piece of paper and planned it out. I listened to 30 minutes of Christian music in Spanish while I cleaned the kitchen after dinner. After I got the kids in bed, I spent 20 minutes using 1 Samuel chapter 1 to practice listening, reading, vocabulary, and speaking. I paused the audio Bible to give myself time to repeat out loud after the speaker. I spent the last 10 minutes watching a video that was in English and Spanish. I had such a productive hour. I posted about it on Instagram, and I've decided to document my journey to 1,000 hours. And Language Learning Lover, again, I just want to let you know that I'm really excited about you, and I will let anybody that wants to know about Language Learning Lover's road to her first 1,000 hours, I'm going to give you a link, and I'll put a link in the description of this video so you can follow her journey. All right, so I want to talk about principles of what should you focus on during your first 1,000 hours. So let's go ahead and continue in this presentation. I think this is very important. What you want to do is focus on the activity more than the language itself. And so in this the screen right here, you can see something that Language Learning Lover posted on her Instagram post, and you can see right here she was listening to 1 Samuel chapter 1. She was also reading 1 Samuel chapter 1, and she had Christian Spanish music that she was listening to and other things like that. So I know that Language Learning Lover likes to read about the Bible and things like that, and I do as well. I have Santa Biblia right here, and so I like to, as part of my worship, instead of me just reading in English, I'm reading this book, the Bible in Spanish. I'm also following my interests as I am reading like Cómo salir de la depresión, or learning more about how to overcome depression. And so I'm following my interests, and that's what Language Learning Lover is doing as well. It's going to help you with your why. It's going to help you with finding out, like, why am I still learning this language? I'm learning this language because I want to learn more about online business and marketing. I don't want to have to be limited just to learning things in English. I'm learning Spanish because I want to learn more about how to overcome depression and help people and things like that. I'm learning Spanish because I want to learn more about the truths of God's Word, and I want to have a deeper connection with the Lord. So those are things that help you in continuing to focus on language learning. And I see what Language Learning Lover said. She said, "Thanks so much. I'm excited too." So I'm really happy for your passion in your road to your first 1,000 hours. So again, go on Language Learning Lover's Instagram and encourage her as well. Let's go on to point number 2. This is very important. You need to focus on what you can do. So there's 2 different mentalities. I'll talk about the first mentality is the I can't mentality. And so this is something that you might have been through, or you might still be on, or other people you might have heard or whatever. And so this is what sometimes we say when we're trying to learn a language that does not help. I can't read a native level book. So for instance, you look at a book like this, you look at something about how to overcome depression, you're like, there is no way I can do that. So you just put it down, and when do you pick it up? We don't pick it up because we have the limiting belief that stops us from actually getting to a high level in the language. What else? What is another I can't mentality? Is I can't watch a 30-minute native level Spanish video. Or I can't learn Spanish because my language partner isn't online. That's a big one sometimes, because sometimes we think that we can only learn a language if we are, talking to people and things like that. That's a part of language learning, but I would say that there's a bigger part of language learning that doesn't even have to deal with like talking or interacting with someone else. Okay, let's go on. I can't learn a language because I'm not in a foreign country. This is something that people are telling me. It's like, okay, Franklin is nice. Okay, you're learning a language and all that, but if you really want to learn a language, you have to go to another country. And what I have done is I put a video on. It's like a 3-part series, but it's called "Do I Have to Travel to a Foreign Country to Learn a Foreign Language?" And I'll put a YouTube card up here if you want to look at that. And I give my own opinion as well as other examples and research on that topic. And I think, that is important if you want to focus on what you can do. Okay, so let's continue as well. I can't go to a Spanish church or an all Spanish environment. And that was me. There's a point where I was frozen. I was like, no, I can't do it. I need to get to, a better level and all of this. So I'm not going to a Spanish church. But then I had to just say, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And I went ahead and did it. And I was blessed because I did it. And I got to a higher level in Spanish because of that. All right, let's look at a different mentality, and this is the mentality that I hope you will have in your first 1,000-hour journey. It's the "how can I" mindset. And this is based on, Philippians 4 and verse 13 that says, "I can do all things through Christ which strengthens me." So we want to focus on things we can do. So instead of saying, "I can't read a native level book," we need to ask ourselves the question, how can I read a native level book? And so I've had resources on here about reading in a foreign language. And so if you want to know about that, I'll put a YouTube card right up here that you can click on. There's a lot of resources about how to do that on this channel. Another thing is, how can I watch a 30-minute how can I watch a 30-minute native level Spanish video? How can I learn Spanish even when my language partner isn't online? There are so many ways you can do that. I mean, I think one of the cool things about YouTube is there's so much content, native level content of people, native level speakers speaking in Spanish, and you have a big opportunity to spend endless, countless hours, as much as you would want, actually, being able to get that understanding of high level native speech if you want to. And that's not dependent on anybody else, having to wait for someone or something like that. Okay, let's continue. How can I learn a language in my home country? You can think about that. And then another question is, how can I go to a Spanish church or an all Spanish environment? So there's things that you can do, like go on live streams. Maybe you're on a live stream, right? Or you might be on a live stream right now with First 1,000 Hours, but then there's other live streams that you might be into based on your interests as well. And then you can start being able to do live chats, and that will help you, being able to read what other people are saying in Spanish as well as listen to Spanish. But then you're able to write to people in Spanish as well and engage in a Spanish community. So there are things that you can do. All right. And I think to even elaborate on this as well, sometimes one thing that stops us is we might not be able to understand everything in the language. And I've talked about that as well, like how do you increase your comprehension in a foreign language and all of this. But there's another angle I want to come to today about what happens when you don't understand everything that is important to consider. All right, and so contrary to popular opinion, I believe continuing to listen to a foreign language even when you don't understand everything is a skill. And I think that in the language learning community, sometimes not only is it a skill, it's a rare skill. And I'm going to elaborate on that point with 2 stories. Okay, so last week, I got a call from my dental office because I just went to the dentist yesterday. I don't like going to the dentist because I'm just kind of afraid of what will happen. I guess I'll just be a little bit transparent and letting you know, like, I've had 2 teeth pulled from my mouth, and so that's been a little scary, not the best for myself or whatever. So anyway, I talked to the dental office. They called me, right? And And a lot of people in this dental office are bilingual. And so the person talked to me in English, and then I said something in Spanish to the person, and then they said, "Oh, do you speak Spanish?" They asked me that question, or this person asked me the question, and I was kind of thinking, what should I say? Should I say, do I know Spanish or do I not know Spanish? What should I say? Sometimes I've said I'm learning Spanish, which is true. I'm learning Spanish, but then there's a point that I have to get to where I just say I know Spanish. And so what I told the person is I know Spanish because I've spent over 1,000 hours with Spanish, and I just need to just say that. And what I also did is I told the person, oh, sorry, after I said that, then the person told me something in Spanish. And then I repeated what that person said, but I said it in English. And so that person was like, okay, well, I guess in that person's mind, can't read minds, but it seemed to be like that person was thinking that they were going to try me out a little bit in Spanish because I indicated that I kind of knew what they were saying in Spanish. So then they spoke in Spanish to me. And we were talking about the appointment. So then I was speaking in Spanish about what I wanted, what I was hoping that the dentist would look at with my teeth. And then she spoke again to me in Spanish. And now when she spoke it to me again in Spanish this time, I understood a lot of what she said, but there were some things that I didn't understand. And so what happens now, if you have that I can't mentality, where you say like, I can't understand something because I can't understand Spanish because I don't know everything, then what you do in that moment is you freeze. And then you don't pay attention to everything that you could understand. And so because I've been in situations many times where I haven't understood everything, I didn't freeze. But I continued to focus on what I did understand. And by God's grace, I was able to continue that and complete that conversation with that person all in Spanish. And I basically had understood what she was going to say anyway because we had talked about the dental appointment a few months ago, and basically it was like the same thing repeated again, but in Spanish, confirming things and all of that. And so it wasn't a big deal. So I want to also talk about my language motivational partner, Connie Warner, and something she recently just WhatsApped me about this as well. This is what she told me. What she does is she translates, and let me show you who she is, just in case you don't know. I'm just pointing right here. That's Connie Warner, my language motivational partner. And in this is a video of her using lava lamps to do an English as a second language class. And I should just put a little card up here if you want to see more about her English as a second language class. And so you can go ahead and click on that if you would like. But this is what she just told me about doing simultaneous translations. She said she does simultaneous translations in the Portuguese church that she attends. So she translates from Portuguese to English for people that want to know, want to just listen to English. And so this is what she said. Translating went pretty well, even though I was really tired. I had a really hard time with numbers today. It had been improving lately, but probably being tired didn't help. I had at least 3 people listening to me today. I got the rest of the sermon just fine. So me missing Bible numbers, but getting everything else is better than them sitting in confused silence for the hour. So let's just think about this. Maybe you might want to get to the level that Connie's getting in your language that you're learning. You might want to do simultaneous translations. But if you just beat yourself so much and say, "Oh man, I'm just a failure at what I'm doing because I don't understand everything," then if you get the opportunity of being able to do simultaneous translations, then what's going to happen when you don't understand everything like Connie? She didn't understand all the numbers, but because she has a "how can I" attitude and she's not focused on all of her failures, but she's focused on serving other people, helping other people, and doing the best she can, then she was able to still get through that sermon and give people a lot more than what they would have if they tried to just listen to Portuguese. And and these people that she's helping probably don't know any or a lot of Portuguese anyway. So really be really be thinking about the mentality that you have. And please, on your first 1,000-hour journey, I'm going to ask that you don't say I can't, and you don't think about I can't. What I want you to think about instead of that is I can for 1,000 hours. Now, after 1,000 hours, then you can go back to saying I can't or whatever limiting belief you want to have. But for your first 1,000 hours, I'm going to ask that you do not engage in that type of mentality. Okay, that's up to you what you want to do, but that's what I'm asking for you to do, please, as we think about focus in language learning. Let's continue on to this presentation. This is something that Connie has told me, and so I want to tell this to you as well. Please focus more on the practice than the performance. So I have this piano here, and let's just think for a second, like if we're playing the piano, yes, it's nice to play the piano in front of people, but the most talented pianists and people that are musicians and all this, they spend a lot more time by themselves, practicing, perfecting their art, perfecting all of that before they just go and they perform in front of people. And so I remember when I was doing my video about making waffles in Spanish, and Connie just reminded me, Franklin, you need to spend more time, doing things like this, like reading in a foreign language, listening in a foreign language, watching videos in a foreign language, because that's like the cornerstone or the foundation of being able to speak. Because inputs, or what we put in ourselves, and is more important than output, because that helps us understand what we're listening to, and then it also prepares us for speech. And so don't be discouraged if you're spending 5 minutes like listening to Spanish or reading things or viewing Spanish, and then you just go out and try to speak. You should just put more time basically in the practice. And what I mean again is having that real world context with the language. All right, let's continue. Focus on your progress differently. So I want you to look at it like this. Every additional hour that you're putting into your first 1,000 hours is progress. And so there's different points of why that's the case. You're learning more about how native Spanish speakers are saying things. So this was important for myself when I have done that video about like me rolling my R's, my first video, and I still can roll my R's. I can do things like this. I can do things like that very easily, because you might not realize this, but you're understanding patterns of speech over time, and that's going to impact you, whether you know it or not. It's going to impact you, and so that's something that's going to help you in your language learning journey. You're learning about how to be comfortable in situations where you don't understand things 100%, and I already talked about that, and I talked about that many times. And then your challenges will help you relate better to other people in the future who want to learn a language. And then you're learning more than you think you are. So one of my value propositions here, or my big value proposition, is I seek to inspire and motivate you to complete your first 1,000 hours of your language learning marathon, and I share an out-of-the-box mentality to help you learn languages on your own in a real-world context. And so when you are putting and immersing yourself in that real-world context, you're going to learn things that you just don't know that you're learning, but it will come out in time. And so don't try to put so much pressure on yourself to say, oh man, I have to understand everything from day one. I have to speak like a native from day one, and all of this that's unrealistic, and it's not helpful. But you can be excited about your progress. Oh wow, I spent 1 hour with Spanish today, like Language Learning Lover is saying on her Instagram and things like that. Those are the things, and being excited about the progress is going to get you to be able to focus for a long period of time on language learning and actually be successful as well, I believe. All right, let's continue. It's easy to look at the present moment and look at how much we still have yet to learn. But it's important to pay more attention to looking backward and seeing how far we've come. How many times have we done that? How many times have we said, well, last year I couldn't do, last year I was not trying to pick up this book, but now I am. Or last year, I didn't even step foot in a Spanish church, but now I am. Last year, I didn't even watch the Spanish video for an hour, but now I am. Those are things that you can do that are going to encourage you more than thinking about, oh man, I forgot this word, or oh, I forgot how to, I forgot this grammar point or whatever. So just focus on that. Let's continue on here. Focus on how people have gotten to a high level in a foreign language. Now, the cool thing you could do is, I should say this, even with dual sub, and I have that video on my First 1,000 Hour channel, and I'll put a link up here, is how you can have double subtitles on videos. You can actually focus on learning how people have got into a foreign language, a high level in a foreign language, and in the language that you're trying to learn. So that's something that you can do. But I also have resources on First 1,000 Hours like this one, where I talk about how Samuel got up to the high level in the language he was trying to learn, and the video about, do I have to travel to a foreign language? Sorry, do I have to travel to a foreign country to learn a foreign language? I talk about how Connie Warner has gotten up to a high level. And there's also an interview about even myself and some of my mindset of how I'm learning Spanish. And so someone asked me about that, Zach Ascott, to be accurate. And so I have that on the homepage of First 1,000 Hours. So there's a lot of resources, or different resources, that you can use, and I will continue having other things, or at least I plan to have other things as well, about other people and how they've gotten to a high level to help you out as well. And so I also wanted to go to my last point, and is this: ask God to help you. Now, you might say, how does that relate to anything? I would say Samuel Francis talked and emphasized about prayer and how that helped him as well. And so you have that as that option as well, to ask the Lord to help you in your language learning marathon. And that's what I have to share with you today. I want to also go into specific hours next week. So we're still going to talk about focus on language learning, but I will do that next week. And so I hope that you will come back out to the live stream on Tuesday at 7 p.m. Central Time. And if you are in another country and you're not able to come to the live stream, just leave a comment if you have a question for me about this topic. And leave a comment on the scheduled live stream. I try to schedule my live streams 2 days in advance, and so you should see that on my channel, and you'll still be able to participate in that live stream as well. And I want to thank everybody who has come out. And I will put a video on the screen that will talk about how you can increase comprehension in a foreign language, and there will be also a video that YouTube recommends, and I hope to see you in the next video.